Do you play any guitar? Or just drums?
I had a guitar when I was young, but I learned...
Didn't stick with it?
I learned one song by Metallica and gave it up.
Oh, speaking of drums, I didn't even mean to talk about this. Do you know the family that adopted Nod?
Pup?
Yeah,
Mama Bear's pup.
Nod. So the woman's brother is the drummer for Foo Fighters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Taylor, what's his last name?
His last name isn't like Mick something?
Oh, I have no idea.
You don't know?
No. That guy's a great guitarist. So he actually was at my wife's cousin's wedding. And I don't want to throw dirt at the dude, but he put more vodka on ice than any person I've ever seen. Yeah,
he hasn't met me.
Taylor.
I forget.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was kind of fun.
He's an excellent drummer.
Oh yeah,
that
he's
guy
amazing.
Is fantastic.
No, I was kidding with her. I go, yeah, I tried out for the Foo Fighters. They picked your dumbass brother over me. What the fudgesicle? Anyway, welcome back. This is another edition of For the Love of Dog. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Steve McLean, co-founder, and I'm here with Gary, our head trainer. I always say one of our head trainers. He really is our head trainer, really. We used to have Stephanie. Stephanie doesn't really help us out much anymore, but so that leaves you, man.
Sweet.
Yeah, this leaves
I'm
you.
the army of one.
You're the army of one. Well, I try to help you a little bit, but I'm so busy on other stuff. I don't know if you noticed, like this month and a half, I've just been sending you everything.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time. I don't have time.
Crazy people.
Yeah, crazy people. This is the segment of our show where we try really hard to answer questions on dog behavior. We try to highlight things that are in the media. We try to keep it interesting. Hopefully you agree.
Do our best.
We do our best. I'm sorry, you get what you get. Anyway, it's funny. I'm a huge Apple guy, and I get the news feed and on my phone, and
this may surprise you, but Android users also get news on their phone.
I know. They caught up to the Apple.
Apple users, you know how we read.
Only Apple users.
Yes.
I don't even know how I even let you on the show not being an Apple person.
Yeah. I'll let people in that Steve is very down on me for my Android phone. He doesn't get confirmations that I receive his text messages.
The first time we met, I used to tease you, what do you got, a burner phone? What the hell is that? You had like the original flip phone.
I think I did.
The first time I met you, this is a drug guy.
Yeah.
This guy's just selling drugs with a little flip phone with your mohawk.
Yeah.
You're trouble, man. You're just flipping trouble. Anyway. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I give you a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But I only give shit to people that I love.
I don't want to say it's Apple snobbery, but
it's totally Apple.
There is some of that out there, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm the worst. I'm the worst. You know why I'm the worst snob about Apple? Because I had to put up with so much shit in the 80s for being the only business person with a Mac.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all
graphics,
the time. But it wasn't just about graphics. I told people, look, it's not just graphics. I did my accounting. I did everything on my Mac. I'm like, you're so full of shit, you PC people. So I put up with so much shit. And then when Apple started making it, I was like, yeah. Anyway. This is way off key. Anyway,
This is what we do. We chat about whatever comes up. There will be some dog involved in it somewhere.
Hey, when we start getting real numbers, I'll talk about real things.
Yes. Until then, you get what you pay for.
It's your fault, people. Pay attention. Anyway, so I get a feed on my phone that talks about the genetic coding, and I thought the article had to do with the way that we found out that the relationship between humans and dogs goes back further than what we think, and this genetic evidence. So I decided to read the article. The first paragraph had to do with how dogs see our expressions, and they get a lot of information about that. And I knew all about that. And so I'm reading more like, this article sucks. So I kind of gave up on it. But everyone knows I'm not a bright guy. My attention span is horrible. So 2 days later, I get an email or text from you that, hey, did you read this article? And I said, yeah, I did. And I said, yeah, it seemed interesting or whatever I told you. And I kind of just brushed the article off. But you actually did a deep dive.
Yeah.
Right?
I really read it.
Nice. Well, see.
It was painful.
Well, I thought it was not very well written.
No.
To be honest with you. And it was like the
Smithsonian
yeah.
Magazine, yeah. No,
Who knew they had
previously
a
in another
magazine?
life, I did editing for a newspaper.
Yeah.
This would have completely got this writer bent.
Well, maybe this is someone you worked with a long time ago.
Maybe.
And
They're going to get back at me by starting to write dog stuff that I can't read.
Did you know the Smithsonian even had a newspaper? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you did a deep dive, and so obviously I'm an idiot. What was the article really about?
The article's about a Yale University study for looking at the evolutionary aspects of humans through their relationship with dogs.
Okay.
So it started with primates. Obviously, people know that primates are, our closest animal relative.
Right,
So they started
right.
with primates, and they figured out that will get us to a certain degree, but it doesn't get us into the certain mental aspects that they're going because we don't share that with them.
Right.
So what they said is, let's look at dogs. Dogs for thousands of years have been another species that has been solely reliant on us
Right.
as providers. So they obviously have some mental tuning into us. So they were basically diving into that to see at what level the dogs use what they take from us in their decision making.
I see.
So
So in other words, they when they read our face, what goes on in the dog's mind?
it's bigger than just reading our face. What
Okay.
they did is they set them up in studies where one of the studies I know was where they would let's see, I got one here. They'd take actors and they'd have the actors act out a scene as to, between each other and let the dog kind of third party deduct what happened
Okay.
as to who they're going to side with in this deal.
So what kind of so
one of
two
the-
actors, so what's the ploy?
So one of the scenarios is that they would bring the dog in and they'd have somebody offer something up. And, so
Like food?
No, to the other person.
Oh, sorry,
So
okay.
they'd be like, okay, here's a clipboard.
Okay, I got
And
you.
the other person will take it, and then
Okay.
they say, okay, that is a resource going from one person to another. One person's a giver, one person's a taker.
Right.
Then they would have a person who would not give up the clipboard. They'd be more, agitated about it and keep all the resources for themselves.
Right.
So they're seeing how much the dog will deduct from these scenarios as
Right.
to how the dog will use that to make decisions.
So it's based just on the interaction, physical interaction of things between two people.
Two people that the dog's observing.
Okay.
And then the dog has a choice to make at the end of it. No matter what it is, the dog has a choice, and that's how the dog fills out its answer.
So the scenario of the two actors had nothing to do with their personalities. Like so one person's not more animated, the other person's
No.
It had nothing to do with that.
Not as far as animated, as to something that would bait the dog.
Right.
It's more behavioral things like who's more territorial, who guards resources more, behavioral thing that a dog would take out
pick
as to
up on.
try to,
Okay.
find out, I'm going to go with this person. This will be a better leader for me.
Okay, so what was the net on that?
So that's one part of it.
Okay.
And the net on that part was that they found that trained dogs were more likely. They use agility dogs. And that agility dogs were more prone to reading things and making decisions based on that.
Based on this interaction between two human beings.
Yes.
So, but again, I find it fascinating that it had nothing to do with the personalities of either person.
But they also found that untrained dogs
Okay.
had no preference between the people.
Okay.
So they think that, to some degree, it's like us. If you are somebody who puts yourself out there, you read a lot, you go to college, you do that stuff,
Right.
you have a wider range of knowledge.
Sure.
So
You're able to talk about more things.
Yeah.
Okay.
The psychology, they call it neuroplasticity. It's basically you have a synapsis, it makes a neuron, and it creates what they call a
Pathway.
Pathway, exactly.
Right.
The pathway is like a blueprint of things that you've learned that you're going to run things over. So if it, is dogs, I'm going to have a pathway that has everything that I know about dogs, and then I'm going to run it over that. So I can make a decision based on that neural pathway really
Right.
quick. So it's
Right.
like a filing system for our brain.
Okay.
So if you don't use those, though, they go away.
Okay.
So that raises another issue with dogs, in that dogs don't have a memory like us.
Right.
So that was one of the issues that they raised, is why we can't do it directly using dogs to see, our cognitive abilities.
Right.
But they kind of made a dog-friendly test version of it.
Right.
And that's what they deducted, is that if a dog is trained and has more experiences, it's going to have more neural pathways and be able to use that stuff to judge.
To make decisions.
Yeah, to make the decisions.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So another one is that they were testing the dog to see if... They can't test the dog to know if the dog knows the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
There is no system for that.
Right.
So rather than that, they want to find if the dog knows the difference of one thing versus another.
Right.
So what they tested that on was, does the dog know left from right?
Right.
So the setup on that was pretty good. What they did is they put a cup with a treat and positioned it to the dog's left.
Okay.
So, and near a door. They do that 3 times to show the dog where it is.
Right.
And then they reverse the room. They put the cup on the other side.
Right.
Does the dog use the spatial recognition of, okay, it's near the door? Or
Right.
does the dog know that it's always on the left?
Right.
So that they're using to see if the dogs have the ability to
decipher left and
decipher
right.
left and right.
What was the net on that?
Again, it was mixed
Okay.
responses, but
Right.
in general, an educated dog performed better on the test.
Okay, that makes sense because he's got more knowledge and he can base his decision.
Yeah, it's like
on
if you're a puzzle person and you do that a lot, you
Yeah.
have that kind of mentality that you can figure through things quickly
Right.
like that.
Well, what I find, I guess what I think part of the reason why I got frustrated with the article too was I find it fast. In fact, it happened yesterday. I'd say, when we get an application, one application in 50 has someone in the household that's on the spectrum. And as well as I do, dogs, and there's certain breeds for sure that get along better with some human beings on the spectrum. I've just through observation, I can give a pretty decent educated guess based on the dog's disposition, whether it's going to do well or not. I find it fascinating. It happened yesterday. Some dogs will go up to a person on the spectrum first, instead of anyone else in the family. And other dogs will totally not even have anything to do with someone that's on the spectrum.
Yep.
And I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
And I find it for the dogs to go up to a human being that's on the spectrum first. I always think that's so damn sweet.
Yeah.
And why they know sometimes quicker than human beings,
Yep.
right? That's really
what they're getting at here.
I think
is
that's
the
what I was
dog's
hoping
ability to decipher situations that
right,
will
and
require.
who's better at it
Yes.
than not. And I always tell families, because I think families get, in my opinion, false information from the medical industry. You don't know how many times I've received an email or a letter from a family member saying, hey, our son or daughter is on the spectrum. We've been told by a doctor to get a dog. It would be good for them. And the families tend to think that, any dog will work.
Yeah.
And that's simply not true.
Yeah.
I get so frustrated because you have to find the dog just like a human being that's empathetic.
Yep.
And not judgy and trying to
And
help.
I mean,
and patient.
let's
patient.
reverse that.
Yeah.
As from our perspective, now
Right.
trying to tell them how a dog works for a psychologist.
Right.
They have their specialty.
Right.
They're right in a sense of that the dog will help.
Right.
But they can't give you the full,
Right. You have to find the right dog.
Yes, they can't give you the full gamut of information that's going to be regarding to the dog because that's not their specialty.
No, but I do get frustrated. They need to at least have the caveat of saying, hey, you
Yes,
can't just get any
learn
dog.
about this.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't
That's
push
right.
them all the way into getting a dog thinking that that's going to do because they're going to go get a puppy and
Well, it's happened at least twice for the little red dog where a family has a dog. They didn't adopt it from us or they didn't purchase it from us. I mean, well, obviously, maybe they got it from a breeder. But my point is, families will come to me and saying, hey, this dog is just not doing well around my son or my daughter.
We got him as an
And
emotional
we have
support
to-
dog.
Yeah, and we have to rehome it. So just a tip, if you're listening, if you do have an individual in your household that's on the spectrum, dogs can be a gift for sure in that
Absolutely.
situation. But you have to find the right one, and not every dog has the tool set to deal with it.
No, and that's why, for assistance dogs, they have to be put through a pretty strenuous process to be decided that you're going to be a good dog for this job.
Yeah, and in that situation, it's a lot of work for the owners too.
Yes, and I think that a lot of people with the pet turned emotional support animal, they
Right.
don't get the full gist of what goes on
They
in
don't.
a real assistance animal training.
They don't, and it's a lot of work.
Yes, it's a lot of work, and you
Yeah.
have to have a dog that's at a certain point, a dog that has a certain disposition.
Right.
Sometimes there's breeds that behaviorally work better,
Right.
but for the most part, you have to know a certain amount. You can't it's not a blind fit. Any
No.
dog will fit this
No.
need, because you'll end up setting yourself up, with even more trouble than you had before.
Right. Yeah, you've made the situation worse. It's kind of like, oh, I've got a dog that's a pain in the ass. I'll get a second dog to solve my problem.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Gary, thank you so much for that. I'm glad that you didn't give up on it like I did. Hopefully, that's part of the reason why we have you.
Some of the science from that will probably end up being used in our dog training.
There you go. Well, will be, for
Yeah.
sure. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. Please subscribe for the love of dog. We need your support. If you would like to donate, please go to our website, thelittlereddog.org. We appreciate you so much. Take care. Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for the love of dog. Totally good news. New Road is back with their food. However, it's only treats. That's okay. We love the treats. You saw Gary try them months ago. Either way, doesn't matter. They're great. They're terrific. Treats only. The promo code is REDDOG15, all caps. Type that in when you're ordering. You get a discount, plus we get a little bit of a donation. We love it. Please check it out. New Road. Thanks, everybody. What are you giggling about? Nada? All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm sure everyone's still eating leftovers after Thanksgiving. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Maybe you're having a little turkey sandwich while you're listening to us. Maybe. I don't know.
I wonder how many people traveled for Thanksgiving.
Hopefully
Not a lot.
not a lot. I guess the main problem was students traveling. That was the big nightmare.
Well, a lot of them have to come home because I know a couple people.
That's
I know
true. You're shut down.
They're shutting down
Yeah.
to January. So
What choice do they have, right?
Yeah. Anyway,
Welcome back to the studio. I'm here with PJ Rosh, founder of the Little Red Dog. PJ, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for cooking that amazing dinner.
Yes.
No, you actually did an awesome job. And it's
Yeah.
not my favorite meal. I'm like
It's
one of
not
the
your
only
favorite meal.
people on earth that I could care less about Thanksgiving
There's
food.
a lot of people who are like that, but yeah.
From pizza, it would be fine. Mexican food, always voted ahead of Thanksgiving turkey.
But yet you're always go back for multiple.
I actually like the
helpings.
sandwich. Well, I like the sandwich
No.
better than
When we're eating dinner, you always go back for
because I
multiple.
don't want to sleep on the couch.
Right. Okay. On that note, let's dive in. So,
What do you got for us, PJ?
We've talked about some of this before, but we had something happen recently that I just had to share with our 20 listeners.
22 as of yesterday.
22, woohoo!
Nice. Thank
Hey,
you,
thank
Joe
you for those
Carlson
2
from
listeners.
Bakersfield.
So, we talk about the ridiculous reasons why people return their dogs, right? And we spend
yeah.
we spend a fair amount of time, a really fair amount of time, trying to find the right fit for dogs. Some people might think it's a little bit of an arduous process. We do it pretty quickly, but there are several steps. And the reason for that is obviously the dog is our client. We want to make sure they're safe, they're, happy, healthy. A lot of places don't recommend home checks, which, we've debated that back and forth, but there have been at least a couple times in our 9-year history that had we not done a home check, the dog would have been in a hoarding situation. So,
Right.
you can't always take people at face value. So I think we have a really good
Yeah, I mean, we
process.
try super hard, for sure. I mean,
we try to make it easy,
I don't
but
think-
also put in some guardrails. So I think
yeah, I don't
that's the
think, I mean,
thing.
I'm trying to be super honest. Out of all the times we've made a mistake, I don't think it's ever been because of neglect or because of not doing our due diligence or out of laziness. I think we honestly try to make it fair and safe for everybody. And we do take chances. By chance, I mean a leap of faith
Sometimes
with the
there's a leap of
family.
faith,
Yeah,
you
that's what I mean by a chance.
Again, sometimes you have to just believe people. You can't
Yeah.
be like, I don't believe you that you're not going to do this.
Yeah, if
So,
we only adopt the people that you and I feel like are A+, we're gonna adopt 5 dogs a year.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true.
So
So this, I got contacted, it was probably late October, and this person who had a dog. It was a senior dog, but a really good dog. Good with cats, kids, dogs, everything.
And they adopted like a year ago from us, right?
And they adopted a year ago, and some
Okay.
things had changed in their life, and that they wanted to return. Chloe was her name. And so, of course, I assumed that because of COVID, maybe they lost their job or was
Right.
losing their house or something. And, we don't pry. I mean, but, the first thing we do is ask if there's any issue with the dog.
Right.
Which there wasn't.
Right.
And when I did finally talk to this person, he said that they had never had a dog before.
And we just talked about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had no idea what it was going to be like. And after a year, they decided that they're just not dog people.
Yeah. I was kind of, I remember when you told me that, I was pretty agitated, frustrated.
I'm still pissed off.
Disappointed. Yeah, disappointed.
I mean, because he has kids and the dog was good with the kids.
Yeah.
And he said, well, the kids
it's a
are
great dog.
Yeah.
It's a great dog.
The kids are indifferent. And I'm like, well, to me, that's concerning. If kids are indifferent to a living being that's in your house for a year, that signals a problem maybe that's deeper than that they're not dog people. So, that was frustrating. Luckily, she is such a good dog and such a pretty dog that we were able to find her another home. But of course, now, we're like, okay, this has to be the last home. You feel bad for the dog because she's being yanked around again. But
well, I think the reason why I got so frustrated is I can understand why someone goes, geez, we've been doing this for a year, and you know what? We're not really dog people. But the thing that frustrated me was they went the extra step. We're not dog people, so we're just going to discard the dog.
Yeah, which I think teaches a really crappy lesson to your kids that the animals are just disposable. And that's the problem. That's the nightmare that we're in with these 6 million animals entering the shelters across the across the US every year. And not a lot of them make it out, and I think that's what's so frustrating is, and he said, well, we did research and everything. And then, so I was very irritated with him, obviously.
Well, to be devil's advocate, couldn't you make the argument, well, if these people aren't dog people, wouldn't it be better for the dog if the dog went someplace else?
100%. I just don't know why they wasted a year of her life, dabbling in it. And, and I said that to him. I said, well, he has 2 kids. And I said, well, you didn't know what it was going to be like to have kids either. Like, did you want to give them up in a year?
Right.
I think that's the thing that still frustrates me is people still believe that animals are disposable. And again, that's why have this huge problem. Remember, California is number 1. We euthanize the most animals because there's just simply not enough people who can adopt them all or get them all out.
So many dogs.
And there's certainly a lot of rescues. We do our fair share.
So many rescues.
But, there's still a lot of people who think that they're disposable, and it's just really frustrating to me. So, there's other things, and there's certainly people who have to give up their dogs and they just really have no other option. Like I said, COVID has really affected a lot of people.
Right.
A lot of people are in financial distress. And, I get that. I mean, I get that when you're trying to figure out where you're going to live or you're going to feed your family. I understand that maybe the dog or the cat might have to go because you see it as a better, you don't know where you're going to be living. So again, just to decide that you're not a dog person, I don't know. That just was really crazy to me. So.
Well, when Gary and I talked about first-time dog owners last week, it never occurred to me that step 1 would be figuring out if you are a dog person. Maybe that.
I don't know.
Maybe that is a good question because we've been in this 9 years now, almost 10, and we've never had this situation come up before. Right.
At least they've never used that excuse.
Yeah, and I think it also brings up the fact that people look at dog rescue as a safety net for society, and it's almost like this scenario where if it doesn't work out, we'll just give it to a dog rescue.
Yeah, no, that
and
does happen.
I really do hate that. It even happens to the people that we adopt to, where I can tell they think that if it doesn't work out, no big deal. We'll give the dog back to the little red dog. It's no skin off my nose. And what they don't understand is it's a huge problem.
Well, it's interesting to me because I remember we used to have a very generous return policy, right? We gave people up to 30 days to decide if that was, going to be a fit for them.
Right.
And we kept ratcheting that down. Then it was 10 days, and then it was 5 days. And I remember the last time that we actually had a return policy. I mean,
in the contract,
we
right.
will take the dog back. 100% of the time.
We still do. Yeah,
4 years, 5 years later, we've done that. So we still will.
But what you're
we
getting
don't
at,
give refunds.
Well, just to clear up the people that might be listening, we no longer have a trial period.
Right.
We used to have a trial period, and what you're about to explain is why we no longer have a trial period.
I remember right before you had suggested it, which I didn't think we would get away with it, but I think it's good because it makes people really think. Because I remember talking to this woman, and it was a smaller dog, and we were at PetSmart at one of our events, and she was asking me about the return policy, for a refund for her donation. So
right.
I think it was Saturday. I told her she had till Tuesday, and I could tell in her eyes that I was going to get the dog back on Tuesday. It was like a pair of shoes at Nordstrom's,
Right.
She wanted to know what her policy was so she could return the dog back on that last day. And lo and behold, I got the dog back. And
right.
that's when you and I decided that, or I think actually you're the one that decided. I thought there's no way that anybody's going to go with that. But they
we
do.
changed our approach too. I mean, we made people say, look, this is our new policy.
Right.
We will take the dog back, but there's going to be consequences. So make damn sure that you're serious about this. And by the way, once you've adopted from us, we've already spent a lot of time with you on interviewing and physical
training,
things like that.
Right.
So we make it pretty clear, in my opinion, that if you decide this is the dog that you want, it's 100% your fault if things don't work out. People still don't look at it that way. They still think that they have a problem dog. They never want to blame themselves.
No, but we don't we get some complaints about the refund, but not a lot. And it's certainly not to say that we wouldn't give somebody a trial period. We have done that, especially if they have another dog. We want to make sure the dog. We're not completely ridiculous. We're trying to be fair. But what I'm trying to be is fair to the rescue, because what people don't understand is when they return the dog, it puts a huge burden on the rescue. It's not like like you always say, we're not funded by the government, the county, the city, whatever. We're funded by donations. And when we adopt a dog, we typically save another dog. Sometimes we save 2 more dogs. So we don't have that space that dog exited. He might have had a foster or whatever. We don't have that space left. And, think about the holidays, even if we want to try to board the dog that comes back, the vets are full. I thought that this year might be a little bit different, but all the vets are full for Thanksgiving. So some people are still traveling, that still traveled, for Thanksgiving. So I guess my point is that nobody ever they just want to get rid of the dog, and they don't want the dog anymore. They're done. And we've talked about this before, where sometimes it's often a dog that we adopted out at 8 or 10 weeks. And then we're getting the dog back, 6, 8, 10, 12 months later. And now it has a problem. And they don't reach out to us at 3 or 4 months when they start having the problem. Then all of a sudden they're telling me this dog is so bad. Well, you've had it since it was 8 weeks. So whose fault do you think that is if the dog is bad? And everyone wants to believe that the dog is genetically bad.
Yeah, we have never, I don't think we've ever had anyone admit. I take that back. One family admitted they weren't doing their job. But usually it's the dog's crazy. You don't understand.
There's something wrong with the dog. The dog is a bad seed.
And by the way, just to be clear, just to make it super clear, what PJ is talking about is we're only trying to get rid of the families that are trying to take advantage, and they're looking for an easy out. And we're not giving them an easy out. We're making them make a decision. And by the way, I tell people this all the time. The people that I interview. It's okay if you make the decision right now that you do not wish to adopt.
Sure.
I will not. There's no judgment.
I'd prefer it.
Yeah, there's no judgment at all. I don't care how long I've spent with you. What we're gonna get mad at is if you decide to adopt a dog and a year from now you're like, okay, we're gonna give the dog back because this is not the situation that we thought it was gonna be. Our lives are not awesome like we thought we were gonna have with this dog.
Well, and typically the reason why it's so frustrating is because the dog typically does have a couple has some issues, right?
Right.
So that's the problem. At least with this one that we started out with, Chloe, who was a perfect dog, and she's still a perfect dog, and thankfully she got back a perfect dog.
Yeah, that was that's a weird reason. I mean, that reason's in my opinion is never going to happen again. I'll be shocked if we get someone else down the road that says we're just not dog people. And it kind of because I'm a math guy, everyone gets tired of me talking about math, but because we're kind of on this topic, when we get a dog back, we get almost 9% of the time we get dogs back, which is not a bad statistic. We'd like it to be, 0, but that's not ever going to happen.
10% of the time.
It's almost 9. It's almost. I'm sorry. It's just over 9%.
Okay.
It's close.
It's not
to
like
10.
you said 90.
No, I'm sorry.
That would be bad.
No. We get about 9% of the dogs back, slightly over 9%. And if we look at the 9% of those dogs, 76% of those dogs we classify as power breed. A power breed dog to us, German Shepherds, some of the working breeds, all of the pity dogs, the pit bull that get classified as pit bulls, Amstaff, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if we focus just on those dogs, the 76% of those dogs, 100% of those dogs bit someone in the house, either someone, a member, a family member, or a visitor. Same thing. My answer's still the same. When the dog does something stupid like that, it's not the dog's fault. It's the human's fault. It's the family's fault. They didn't work on it. They didn't work on discipline. They didn't exercise the dog. They weren't, they didn't want to learn anything, right? So for someone to give us a dog back, they're not dog people. I can't even put them in a column. That doesn't even go anywhere.
No, I know, and I know we have just a short amount of time left, but the thing about the people who that you're talking about, and not the one that wasn't a dog person, in that group, we tell them, put the dog in a different room or in a crate when a visitor comes home. They've been told that.
Right.
Don't have them out, and they don't do it. And they're like, but I didn't want to do it. Well, then you didn't care about if the dog was going to bite somebody.
Right.
Or you say, oh, you didn't tell us everything about the dog. So that's why we started putting everything in the contract.
Right.
This is what we know. This is what we told you. Because
Right.
Because it's just ridiculous to have to go through that over and over and over again. And it is very rare for a dog to be a bad seed. It is what you do, what you put into it or don't put into it. Anyway, I think.
Yeah, well, I guess I can't put it in a column. Every one of these scenarios does always boil down to the families just being stupidly selfish.
Yeah.
And it's just another version
So
of
on that
selfishness
note-
that we've never seen.
On that note, don't be selfish.
Right.
Love
Don't
your
be
dog.
selfish. Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Please tune in for the love of the dog. If you would like, you can donate it at thelittlereddog.org. See you guys next week.